Yeah, it's just psychologically, it's an interesting situation to break down because now we've got a situation where was this just a special night? Did they just put it all together one night and they're going to revert to being what was probably headed toward a 7-5, 8-4 type season? Because if they lost to Arkansas in Mississippi State, they'd have toss-up games, I'm sure, against Ole Miss, Auburn, others. Or is this a bit of an epiphany, a breakthrough? They found something here. Not that everything just automatically is going to fall into place and all their issues are resolved, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I don't expect you to have the answer to this. None of us know, but whether this is going to be truly a breakthrough for this program and Jimbo Fisher and what he's trying to build.
Yeah, I tend to believe that we're going to see a lot better from A&M in the second half. That's just my gut. This team has, has kind of ridden the roller coaster, obviously, the past couple of weeks. It does change the complexion of their season a little bit, though, because I think we talked about it last week that you're sitting at 3-3, and then kind of where do you go from there with Missouri coming up, which should be an opportunity to keep some of the offensive momentum going, because Missouri has really struggled defensively. I think that's a way to put it nicely. And then you come back with South Carolina, and so if you're A&M and you can head into the bye week at 6-2, I think that's going to give them a lot of momentum to then regroup, come out of the bye week. Tough couple of games against Ole Miss and Auburn coming out of the bye week, and then Prairie View, A&M, and LSU to finish the year. And I'm not sure it's hard to predict what LSU is going to look like by the end of the year, just with everything going on with that program. That's a tough program to really gouge right now. They could come out, guns blazing at the end of the year because it'll be their last game of the year and all that. But for A&M, one of the things that I think kind of gives me a feeling that this might be, the start of a better second half of the year is if you think about the offensive line and just how banged up it's been through the first part of the year. They're getting healthier now. They got back Layden Robinson, which I think has been a huge boost just in the past 2 weeks, and with the way the offensive line has played better, I think he's a big reason for that. I think you're seeing Bryce Foster and Reuben Fothery get more comfortable. I thought Reuben Fothery played really, really well against Alabama. I think he should be in there now the rest of the year, to be honest. The way he's played, and he's only going to continue to get better the more experience he gets. And then moving Kenyon Green back inside the guard, and I think that certainly helped as well. And it's just given them. I think they're starting to find a combination of guys that they can go with on the offensive line. They can protect Zach Calzada. And I think this will give him a lot of confidence just moving forward to make the throws and settle in. His confidence has got to be sky high now. This team has to focus, and that was one thing Jimbo Fisher talked about this week. Is just like Nick Saban talked about last week, being a trap game for Texas A&M. In some regards, this is a trap game for Texas A&M to refocus, regroup, come right back. He said yesterday, I think he was tired about talking about Alabama. I don't know if that's true, but he talked about refocusing for Missouri, and so this is a really important one to get. And I think it does. I think we'll see a better A&M in the second half, and should be getting back some receivers at some point, which should help as well. And I think this is a team that's now starting to find what they need to do to be successful and can still have a great year. 4-2 is obviously a lot different than 3-3. Shoot, if Alabama loses one more time and they win out, then they're suddenly looking at a road to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. I don't know. We'll have to see if Alabama bounces back against Mississippi State. I'm sure that I'm expecting them to. But it just changes the outlook of the season and what A&M needs to do going forward.
Andrew, you had mentioned Jimbo Fisher commenting on social media, something he doesn't believe in and doesn't take part in, but of course his players do, so he's got to manage it. And now we've got a mindset where, you can get too many pats on the back after a situation like this, after weeks and weeks and weeks of underachieving and then being criticized and torn down, and having to kind of keep your confidence up. So it works in both directions. And, college football fans turn on a dime like that. So, and they can certainly believe everything's headed in the right direction automatically now, and facing a team that's been giving up yardage and points like nobody's business in Missouri, that just everything's going to be fine. But just about Jimbo Fisher's managing of the mindset of this team.
Yeah, so we learned yesterday, obviously, that the only ways you can reach Jimbo Fisher are through text message and message. He made that abundantly clear. Yeah, his message about social media, he's talked about it before, about how he just hates social media. He knows it's here. He knows it's a part of the business. Knows what, you know, there's a lot of kids, but to his point, a lot of kids live on social media. And so just as the last 2 weeks, he's tried to hammer home the message to ignore it and ignore some of the, negativity and the criticism that you're getting, and focus on the task at hand. It's really the same message this week: is ignore the praise, and obviously take it, and you'll take success, but just like you ignored social media last week, ignore it this week after a high, and focus on what you need to do to win again. And so yeah, he's definitely, if he's made one thing clear this year and over the past couple of years, he's not a huge fan of social media and all that, but it's a part of the business, and yeah, you've got to be able to block it out and lock in on what you need to do to be successful, both when things are going good and when things are going bad. And I think that's kind of the way they look at it. It's a part of the business for everybody, not just players. Even reporters sometimes get fans that are not happy with something they write or say or anything like that, and you just have to be able to block it out and continue moving on with what you need to do.
And of course, if Jimbo Fisher was on social media, he would have known how much his comments back in May caused an uproar about what he had stated. I've got it right here. We're going to beat his arse when he's there, talking about Nick Saban, of course. Then a few weeks later, heck yes, I think we're going to beat them. That's why we're here. They're the standard. We have to learn to beat them. What's funny is, of course, the response was mixed at the time. Some people get all up in arms and crazy about you shouldn't say things like that, and other people like it because they're like, you're basically stating your goals and just saying, hey, we're going after them. And then, of course, even before the game's played, people assume they're going to get hammered by Alabama. So it started to get more attention in the couple of weeks leading to Alabama to say, doesn't Jimbo Fisher look stupid because they're going to get killed by Alabama? And then he goes out and delivers. So it's just kind of a funny roller coaster ride.
Yeah, it's been funny to watch that whole thing, and he did talk about that this week, and he just laughed. And him and Nick Saban are obviously friends, going back to their time working together. But he just basically said, that was kind of his competitive side coming out, and it would be the same way probably for Nick Saban, as he doesn't really love being told he can't do something or can't achieve something, and so that he said that was kind of what prompted his reaction. It was, and obviously he knew about the comments and knew that he had a check to cash of sorts. And yeah, in the past couple of weeks, it was with A&M and the way they were playing, it was kind of, you had one of those reactions thinking, boy, if Alabama gets up in this game, they could easily run up the score and send a message back to Jimbo Fisher after that game. But he deserves a lot of credit. And it's one of those things, beating Alabama, that's been a mindset. I saw one of the A&M players tweet that he came to A&M to beat Alabama, to beat a program like Alabama. And I remember having a conversation. I was just thinking about this last night, that I remember having a conversation this past fall with a high school senior with his parents, and they were talking about how just last year, even though they went 9-1 and what they saw from the team. Um, the thought process among that class was we could be the group of players that help knock off Alabama. We could be that group that's the missing piece for what they need to do to beat Alabama. And sure enough, that same recruit was the one who tweeted out, I came to Texas A&M to beat Alabama. So there's certainly a lot of kids that kind of knew what the next step for him was. It's something that A&M players have embraced, to go out and beat. And it's not a disrespectful way. It's not anything like that. But as Jimbo Fisher said, in the past couple of years, going back for the past decade and a half, pretty much, Alabama has been the standard, and you have to be able to meet that standard. And if you're not trying to beat them, then you're kind of settling for second. And I don't think that's the way Jimbo Fisher operates. And so, it's one of those things that they're gonna push to knock off Alabama, and they did that. And he deserves they deserve a lot of credit for their response. But yeah, it's just kind of something that they've embraced, and an opportunity and challenge that they know isn't easy. They know they had to play a good game, and they still made mistakes and ended up winning the game. And it was funny how it all came full circle. And I saw a picture afterwards of it had that comment that Jimbo Fisher had said after the summer, and then a picture next to it of Jimbo Fisher with his hands raised in the air after the game-winning field goal. And it was just funny to see that whole storyline be revisited.